Orfitrans Excel is a flexible material and is lighter in weight than most other similar materials, resulting in increased patient comfort. The material's self-bonding properties make it capable of all fabrication techniques for both orthoses and prostheses. To prepare for orthotic fabrication, ensure that all necessary tools are within reach to be able to work quickly and efficiently. Keep a copy of the Orfitrans safety data sheet on hand at all times. Once the positive model has been rectified so that the shape, size, and smoothness of the model is to the practitioner's and/or technician's specifications, the model will need to be further prepared for drape forming fabrication. Carve one air extraction groove at the position where the closure will be located. Spray the plaster model with an acrylic varnish. Do this below an air extractor and while wearing personal protection such as a mask and protective eyewear. The purpose of this step is to insulate the model to prevent moisture from coming into contact with the activated thermoplastic during the fabrication process. Allow the varnish to set and completely dry before proceeding. Once the varnish is dry, horizontally position the model and, if applicable, connect the vacuum pump. Note, drape forming is possible without a vacuum. However, the use of a vacuum is recommended to ensure a highly conformed thermoplastic device. Treat the plaster model with a light layer of silicone demolding spray. The purpose of this step is to allow easy removal of the orthosis from the model following fabrication and the thermoplastic cooling process. Ensure that personal protection is worn while using sprays. Remove any excess spray by wiping the model with a paper towel. Preheat the oven to 130 degrees Celsius or to 266 degrees Fahrenheit to prepare for product activation. To prepare for fabrication, check the thermoplastic sheet for any damage or nonconformities before use. If damaged, do not use. Locate the label, remove it, and retain it or an image of it within your records. Remove and discard the protective film from both sides of the thermoplastic sheet. Recheck for any damages. Measure the model and mark the sheet to trim. If needed, trim the thermoplastic sheet to the size needed for fabrication of the orthotic device. Once the oven has reached the preheated temperature, the thermoplastic is ready for activation. The optimal activation times for Orfitrans Excel are based on the thickness of the sheet being activated and the type of oven being used for product activation. Recommendations for activation times and temperatures may be found in the instructions for use documents associated with the product being activated. These are available as PDF downloads from our website at www.orfit.com. Ensure that you are protected from the high-temperature heat by wearing protective clothing and gear such as long sleeves and insulated gloves. Place the thermoplastic in the preheated oven and close the door to begin the activation process. Since we are using a 4mm sheet of Orfitrans Excel Clear, which will be activated using an infrared oven, the average activation time is expected to take approximately 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Once again, ensure that you are protected from the high-temperature heat by wearing protective clothing and gear such as long sleeves and insulated gloves. Once the thermoplastic is completely activated, it may be removed from the oven. Drape the activated thermoplastic sheet over top of and form it around the model. Take care not to create wrinkles or pull to thin the softened product. Press the layers of the thermoplastic together firmly to form a sealed seam. Once the seam is formed, slowly activate the vacuum to ensure the best conformity to the model. Next, trim away excess thermoplastic along the seam. This step helps to ensure that the whole seam is sealed and makes the start of the finishing process a little easier as well. When the drape fabrication is complete, you can turn off the vacuum pump. Leave the thermoplastic to cool on the model for 24 hours before beginning the device finishing process. Ensure personal protection during the device finishing steps by wearing protective gear such as long sleeves, eye protection, as well as a mask. Also, ensure that hair, clothing, and accessories are not loose or dangling to be tangled in the machinery used during the device finishing process. After a 24-hour cooling period, the orthosis is ready for finishing. Cut along the trim lines to release the device from the model. Carefully slide the orthosis off the model or break the model if necessary to free the device. Trim the orthosis to the desired shape. Grind the edges of the orthosis beginning with a 40 grit sanding and then following this with an 80 grit sanding along the trim lines. Smooth the edges by sanding them softly with a silicone arbor at a maximum of 1500 RPM, and then follow this with a polishing arbor. To finish the seams, grind the seam and place the orthosis back on the model. Reheat the seam locally with a heat gun and roll down with a round object. Finish the edges of the orthosis by wet, dry sanding by hand with a 500 to 1000 grit sandpaper. Follow this by slightly warming the trim lines with a heat gun to make the edges extra smooth. One of the benefits of drape forming is that this fabrication technique produces even thermoplastic thickness throughout the device. Lastly, clean the orthosis. Ensure that the device is free of dust, dirt, and manufacturing debris. Due to the robust characteristics of Orfitrans products, you can create holes in the orthosis using a milling machine or a drill without fear of the material breaking, tearing, or shattering. This allows fearless attachment of straps or other components as needed. Following these steps will provide for a perfectly finished, high-quality thermoplastic orthotic device that provides the support and comfort needed for your patient.